your way. News at the center of your place told your way, giving you a say. PGC Blog coming your way. News at the center of your place told your way, giving you a say. PGC Blog coming your way. News at the center of your place told your way, giving you a say. PGC Blog coming your way. News at the center of your place told your way, giving you a say. PGC Blog coming your way. News at the center of your place told your way, giving you a say. PGC Blog coming your way. News at the center of your place told your way, giving you a say. PGC Blog coming your way. News at the center of your place told your way, giving you a say. PGC Blog coming your way. News at the center of your place told your way, giving you a say. PGC Blog coming your way. News at the center of your place told your way, giving you a say. PGC Blog coming your way. News at the center of your place told your way, giving you a say. PGC Blog coming your way. News at the center of your place told your way, giving you a say. PGC Blog coming your way. News at the center of your place told your way, giving you a say. PGC Blog coming your way. News at the center of your place told your way, giving you a say. PGC Blog coming your way. News at the center of your place told your way, giving you a say. PGC Blog coming your way. News at the center of your place told your way, giving you a say. PGC Blog coming your way. News at the center of your place told your way, giving you a say. PGC Blog coming your way. News at the center of your place told your.
Hello, everyone. It is Cheryl Ingram with PGC Blog. We are here for today's show. This is going to be exciting and it's going to be informative. I'm Cheryl, like I said, we're discussing Prince George's County. I feel like I'm crooked for some reason, but we're discussing Prince George's County real estate and development. I am yet just a layperson, just like everyone who is listening. I don't have all the answers. That's why I have brought along for this hour-long ride some wonderful professionals, some wonderful advocates, and they're full of information. They're full of resources, things, and they all have insight. We all have some insight, even if you're a layperson like me. We're interested. This is where we live. This is our community. This is our surrounding area. So we're going to talk about it. And I'm going to briefly give their names, and they're going to introduce themselves to you. We have, first of all, Christina Cashy with Go Brent Realty. She'll be coming up on the screen. She is a real estate professional. She also hosts her own podcast, and she also is the proprietor of Route 1 Living online. And she has, and I'll let her tell you some more about herself and her specialties. And she's going to be chiming in with us all night too.
Okay, thank you so much, Cheryl. I really appreciate it. I'm very excited to be here. Again, my name is Christina Cashy. I am a realtor here in Maryland and DC. I live in Riverdale, which is a wonderful, sleepy community about a mile to University of Maryland and New Carrollton, for those who are not familiar. And I have been involved in various aspects of real estate for about 20 years now. So I'm an investor. I do property management. I do pre-listing renovation management. And again, my main goal is helping buyers and sellers in Maryland and DC.
Cool. So you guys, you heard her background. Do not hesitate to throw questions in there. We're going to be, we have a set amount of topics and things that we're going to talk about, but we are ready to take your questions also. Yep. So we're going to move to the next person is Timothy Johnson with Sampson Properties. He is residential property expert. He is Mr. Real Estate Extraordinaire. He is a Prince George's County residential real estate specialist. Did I just make up a title for you that you are comfortable with? Because I'm just getting ready to throw them all out there.
I'll take it.
Okay, go ahead. You introduce yourself too.
So thank you, Cheryl. It's a pleasure to meet everyone. And again, my name is Timothy Johnson. I have been doing real estate here in Prince George's County and the larger DMV area for 17 years. I come from a background of social work, so I kind of infuse that into my real estate as someone who comes from a background of helping people, dealing with problems, helping people get from, one state of being to a better state of being. And I think that's what, makes me great as a real estate agent, just, knowing how to come in and really listen to the client. I am a residential specialist, as said. I work with buyers and sellers, and I just love doing what I do here in gorgeous Prince George's.
Yay, yay. See, that was very branded. That gorgeous Prince George's, that was good and branded. Thank you, Timothy. The next person, David Owens. He is the president of Fort Washington Forward, Inc. Man, I got a text about this organization's emergence and got really super excited because I just feel like that whole South County area is a very exciting part of our county. It's so beautiful. It's so picturesque. And, some things have happened, but outside of the Aquatic Center and National Harbor, I need to know what else is happening for the people. And this gives voice to that, but I'm not going to go all into that. I'm going to let David introduce himself. You go ahead. I'm going to stop being your hype man. I'm everybody's hype person.
I need a hype person. You're like my Flavor Flav.
Flavor Flav.
Right? I mean, you're like that for me. But no, there's a lot of opportunity in the South County, and hopefully we can certainly be in the mix of that. I'm Dave Owens. I'm the president of Fort Washington Forward, Inc. Don't forget the Inc. Fort Washington Forward, Inc. A nonprofit here in the Fort Washington community. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in just a minute, but a little bit about myself. I'm from outside of Detroit, Michigan. Naval Academy grad. I think you can see it on my shirt. USNA right there. There we go. 6 years in the Navy. Got out of the Navy, became a TV reporter. Moved all around the country. Worked at WUSA 9 for a bit. Now I run my own small business in video production. So, and when I'm not doing all of that, I'm working with 8 other great people in Fort Washington forward. It's an awesome organization, and we look forward to doing some great things in the Fort Washington area. So, you know.
Okay, well, you're definitely going to get a chance to talk some more about that because the text I received from a Fort Washington resident was a very happy text, and they had already enrolled for some of your programming, and they're very excited, which sparked an excitement in me, which is, you know, how we got to this. But I do want to move into our first topic. Okay, hottest development, whether it's residential, commercial, spots in Prince George's County. I, being a District 6 resident, the whole Upper Marlboro area, I'm going to start off with the downtown Largo area. And as residential specialists, and just as real estate professionals, how do you weigh in on that? And I know, you know, you both have different areas where you specialize, and David, you certainly chime in on this too. But I know that certain parts of the Prince George's County government is being moved and shifted onto the 202 corridor. You see the surge in building and the Woodmore Town Center getting more and more and more stores, more things like, oh my gosh, they are going to have a, not a bar, what's the studio? Pilates studio coming to Woodmore Town Center. So I'm really excited about that. I am a bit concerned about all the housing. I'm not sure if you guys know about all the housing that surrounds that area and that is being built. Could you speak to that and speak to other areas that you think are up and coming?
Well, I'll go. You took my answer, which is the
Talk about it.
Well, no, I guess that is most obvious over there with the with the new hospital. For me as a county resident, I've been a county resident since 2004, and I've seen where we were and where we are now. I just sometimes, honestly, I just love driving through there just to see the more city-like feel that's going on within Largo, and it's just great for me in a sense to feel like I don't always have to go out of my county to go to get a certain service, and I can feel like I can stay right here and get the services that I need. So I'm definitely happy about that project. And you have the Hampton Park project, which is not far from there, where you're going to have, a 250 room hotel. You're going to have, retail. And again, the goal is to bring in, higher end restaurants, and then you're going to have a residential as well. So I like the continuity that's going on, because I just feel like after a while, you can go anywhere in the county and you can, whether you're out with your friends or your family, you'll be able to go to so many different places. But again, those are two spots that I feel that are, up and coming, and there are also others as well.
Now, Timothy, do we call you Timothy or Tim? What is Timothy?
Timothy.
Okay. You mentioned, I forgot, the Northampton Park development, and that's really exciting. There's supposed to be, I think, an Ivy City Smokehouse, and that's a development by Velocity. So there's going to be I forget the name of the grocery store, but it's a Black-owned grocery store that's going to be opening there too. So what do you guys feel about like the living in that area? Like, homes in that area also. Like, I know that there are a lot of townhomes coming up along that corridor, in the whole Route 202 area. And overall, in general, there are a lot of townhomes coming up in Prince George's County. Riverdale and College Park, can't really say so much in Fort Washington. I don't see a heck of a whole lot of townhomes coming up there. But there seems to be an abundance of townhomes, which is going to bring really condensed populations. But I don't know about the pricing. The price points are a little steep, in my opinion. But what is your thought on all the townhomes and that type of condensed development? And I'm just curious. I mean, there seems to be a lot. Not a lot. I haven't seen any condos at all. There are some around the corner from the Woodmore Town Center, but I don't think they're definitely not high rise. But talk to me about the townhomes. There's a large amount of them coming down the pike.
Do you want me to go, or was anybody else going to jump in, or I didn't want to step on anybody's toes?
Oh yeah, anybody. Come on.
You know what I think about, Cheryl and Christina and Timothy, is balance in all of those areas. I mean, you know, Timothy talked about Largo. I think about Suitland. You could also, you know, add to that what they're doing in Hyattsville. I mean, all these places are amazing areas, and I credit the county in you know, building up those areas the way that they are. You know, they're near metro centers, and so a couple of things come to my mind. One, balance. Whenever you have townhomes, you want to, and you start to see that kind of development, you want to make sure that there's something there for everybody, that people don't get priced out. On the other end of it too, though, I think you want to have the kind of price points that are attractive to commercial investors. And so I think that you want to send the signal that this is indeed a place of high earners, high wealth, and sometimes $200,000, $300,000 townhomes don't send that signal. So you want to have that balance, I think, is what you think about. And then the last thing I think about, Cheryl, is, you know, it's funny because you mentioned everything except, you know, the Fort Washington area. And if you go down the 210 corridor, I mean, you know, there's a lot of opportunity there that's kind of been untapped. And so my hope is that the county continues to look at balance and doesn't just defer to, you know, transit oriented development. That's fine, but I think there's opportunities in other places too.
Mm-hmm. And I was just going to add, it does bring up the question of the mixture of homes, the variety of homes that are built too. And, you know, Largo is part of that larger plan with the commission to create these downtown cities. So obviously Largo is one, University of Maryland is another, New Carrollton. So the goal is to create, you know, a mixture of housing opportunities and create these downtown cities where government is brought closer in. So there's a lot of different variables, but I agree that variety and balance are key in both the housing stock as well.
I saw a question come up and it said, what about single family homes? So yes, that came up. What about single family homes? I mean, I think the transit oriented development is great. I think that the downtown, these plans that they have, as Christina mentioned, for New Carrollton, there are actually in our producer, Aaron, if he could pop up a picture, there is actually a proposal for a downtown District Heights now in conjunction with, I think, the St. Paul Church. And that's that whole corridor between Pennsylvania Avenue and Marlboro Pike. So it's proposed. Like, there aren't any concrete plans right now. I remember when I first moved out here, that was proposed. So there is movement on that. So that's another one to add to your list. But this, like the question said, what about single family homes? What are you guys seeing in the real estate world as far as inventory for single family homes? Are they being built? Are they coming down the pike? Or are we dealing with a drought, basically, of single family homes?
Well, I will add, in my opinion, you have the single family homes here. I think it's kind of like a twofold situation. We're no longer are necessarily the cheap kid on the block. So as
Okay.
development goes along, a lot of people are kind of getting priced out. And, like as we look at our buyers, and when you look at, maybe the average price point, the median price of homes in Prince George's County, I think, as I saw or have in my notes here, is $390, and then the average list price is $410. So it's requiring more and more for buyers to afford a single family home, because we know, because we've all, for us as real estate agents, we've been in the business for a long time. And there's a time where under $300,000 could get you a nice single family home, and no longer, is that, the norm, and it's pricing people out. But again, there are still people here who have the income to afford these houses. So they're here, and you have the resale homes that are here. I mean, like 2 years ago, I had a client. It's in one of our prime neighborhoods. Oh gosh, it's one of the gated communities. I'm losing it right now, but like 7,400 square foot home, and then they moved over to an 11,000 square foot home. So there are people with incomes here who are buying those homes, and I just think, as land is to develop, I don't see no stopping until they really kind of run out of room. But I think it's a twofold situation. The lower end buyers are being priced out, so maybe those buyers are not necessarily seeing it because they can't necessarily afford it, but those with the higher incomes, they are buying these homes, these single family homes.
Okay, someone just put up yes, most of in Waldorf, mostly townhomes, northern PG County. Yeah, we could use the balance of single family homes. These comments are coming in, and they are concerned about the single family homes. I think something Prince George's County, I know that the governor, I'm trying to think exactly what it is. He just announced tax breaks for seniors in Maryland. And I think there are going to be some tax rebates or something like that will make it a little better for seniors who want to live in Maryland. We're dealing with an aging population. And I said that in a roundabout way to get to some point, but we are dealing with an aging population, and not everybody wants a townhouse. And as the questions come in about single family homes, I also want you guys to talk about a diversity. And that's something David and I talked about. It's like, you want to make sure that there's a diversity in Prince George's County. You don't want it to be all single family homes. Then you have suburban sprawl. But I don't want a whole bunch of townhomes and condensed living. Not for me. I mean, I think it's great for other people. It's just, it's not for me. But, and I know this is further down in our script. Why aren't there, in your opinion, somebody said, especially since HOA fees are so expensive in condos and townhome communities? That is a huge factor. That is an absolutely huge factor. I remember searching for homes early on with my husband, and some of the HOAs were outrageous. But, just talk to us some more about the diversity that you're seeing in what's available in Prince George's County. Are there any reasonable condos? What would Prince George's County look like with a DC style condo building, and our producer, you can show some examples of that. Like, we don't really, and we're not bound by the whole, what is it, 14 floors in DC. You can't go any higher than the highest federal building. How do we diversify our real estate portfolio in Prince George's County, or should we? I mean, does this suit us? What do you guys think?
If I could, one of the things when I listen to you talk, Cheryl, is, I'm not a real estate professional, so take this with a grain of salt. I'm a private citizen. I see a lot of good diversity when it comes to single family homes, townhomes, condos, things of that nature. I mean, listen, everyone always wants certain kinds of balance. I think in Prince George's County, what is missing from that triangle, if you had, single family townhomes, you don't have that other part of the triangle, which is that, commercial density. And, I mean, townhomes, single family homes, Prince George's County struggles with commercial density. And that is first and foremost on my mind when it comes to our county as we move forward. How do we find that piece of the puzzle? And I think that's the thing that everyone should be thinking about because, there's going to be places to live for people, quite frankly, whether it's single family, whether it's condos, but that commercial density piece of the triangle, that's something that has been a head scratcher and no one's figured it out. And so that would be my thought on that.
Yeah, and I want to address, kind of piggybacking off of that with, addressing the elephant in the room is the inventory issue. We all know that it's dire. Where in Casey County, we're down to 0.8 months of supply. So that means essentially every 28 days, we're clearing the board in all of Prince George's County. Wow. A healthy market hovers around 6 months of supply. So I agree, we need that balance. It goes back to that healthy mix of housing stock with the commercial density. But clearly, it's economics 101, supply and demand. So it's 0.8 is not a healthy, it's not a healthy housing market for buyers. So there's kind of that, need to keep up with supply.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hey, Cheryl, can I add one thing?
Sure.
I just want to add and go back to price point. I think for me too, in agreement with David, I think that, right now there's a good mix, but I think sometimes from the buyer perspective, what not there may necessarily be like what price point you're in, because if we get single family homes, according to what prices are now, single family homes are going to be like in the 5s and the 6s and the 7s. So they're not just starting. So, your townhouse and your condo actually becomes the sweet spot for many of the buyers that are here in Prince George's County. So it's almost like, if you go to like Arlington, like last year or the year before, I had a buyer who lived in Arlington. She wanted to stay in Arlington, but a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house was averaging $800,000. And so she came over here, and when we talk about the Largo Town Center, she purchased, part of the development over there off of Harry S. Truman with the townhomes that were built by Stanley Martin, and then they have the luxury apartments out there. She got a 4-level, 3-bedroom, 3.5-bath townhouse for under $400,000. And I knew she wanted to move to DC, but that wasn't working out. And when she went into those models, she was sweating bullets. And I knew that meant that she had shopper's anxiety, where it's like, oh, I can't believe I'm going to be able to get all of this. And she didn't even go with the largest, model at the time. So I think it's kind of, where it becomes that spot where you're building inventory that the community can afford. And many of the buyers, you know, that are here in Prince George's County, you know, when the average price is for something versus 800 and 900,000, like if you go in other counties, 800, $900,000 definitely is going to be a single family home, but then that becomes the norm. So I think it's kind of like one of those where you're kind of treading lightly to meet the needs of everybody, but you know, the average buyer in our county is not necessarily at that 5 and 6. And, you know, if there's a couple, you have a lot of individuals who have really strong incomes in this county. And we know the wealth that is here. So I think it's really a tough spot. Do we build more townhouses and condos where it makes more affordable housing? Or do we, you know, build all these single family homes, and then that 300 price buyer or that 400 buyer, that price buyer is not then able to find anything. So I think it's a kind of like a touchy spot.
Great. David, we're going to go to you because I know you have a time constraint with us tonight, but I wanted you to talk about Fort Washington Forward before you sign out so gracefully. This is an exciting organization because with all the wonderful homes, with all the wonderful development, the people in the community need someone to advocate for them, so that there are good programs, there are great markets, and there are amenities that represent the needs of the actual community. So talk to us about Fort Washington Forward and what brought this about.
Well, I appreciate it, and I can stick around, to be honest with you. So, because I love the conversation, but Fort Washington Forward is I like to call it. It's resident driven. It's community driven. It's people driven. We are Fort Washingtonians, and if I had to boil down what we are and what we're about into two things, I would say one, attracting holistic investment to our area. By holistic investment, holistic commercial investment, I mean parks and recreation, retail, the environment. We're real big on the environment. I think the second thing that we're really about is strengthening social connectivity. That's what we like to call it. You know, I love Fort Washington, and you talk about price points. The housing market out here is popping, and that's good. But when you talk about Fort Washington,
and you have and I know that our real estate professionals can speak to this, but you can't find anything for sale almost in Fort Washington. But you go ahead, David.
Well, and I was just going to say, I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm over here, you know, back in by the water tower back here, it's popping. I mean, we've had open houses where you see license plates from Virginia, DC, all over the place. And so definitely, you know, housing prices back here normally have a 5 or a 6 in front of them. So, but no, the second thing, so the first thing we're really about is attracting that holistic investment. Like I said before, I think the second thing is strengthening sort of the community connectivity. Fort Washingtonians, and it's maybe no fault of our own, we tend to go everywhere else to do everything else. And that has a lot to do, in my opinion, with structure. But we're trying to change that today. So we feel like those two pillars, attracting holistic investment, commercial investment, smart investment, and strengthening social, those social connectivity points, can make our community even more sustainable, can make property values go up even more, and work on those wealth gaps. So that's sort of what we're about. We've got a lot of interesting projects that we've got coming down the pipe. We're working right now with Adventist Healthcare, Fort Washington Medical Center. That's a mouthful, but I got to say that right. On a farmers market concept, and we're excited about that. I mean, nothing says 21st century health and wellness like a farmers market, locally grown produce, And also it will be I think a place where a gathering hub for us. Again, getting back to that social connectivity piece. So we're
Yes.
excited about that. We're big on the environment. You'll see us involved in Growing Green with Pride, the county executives, a green initiative, but we do a lot of community cleanups. We're in the discussion phase right now with for a community garden program, and we're also thinking of doing some tactical urbanism demonstrations, and by that meaning community-driven, resident-driven process where we create our own sense of place, our own main street, our own temporary bike lanes, and sort of let people reimagine what Fort Washington can be, use that to bolster sense of place and attract the kind of commercial investment that we're looking for. And so, to do those things, you need structure, you need process. And that's why we have this nonprofit organization, because we have committee, structure, process. So that's what we're about. And we're just crazy enough to believe we can get it done. And we will. So
you know what? We're all crazy with you. We're believing for the great things that are going to come to the community, and we want you to keep us informed. I'll be posting on PGC Blog the updates from Fort Washington forward. We have come to a point in the broadcast where we're doing our first, producer Aaron, please, our first hot red button topic. And it's really just a place where we want you to sound off. The first one is, why in the world are there so many Wawas and what's the other one? Royal Farms. They seem to be popping up like popcorn all over Prince George's County. I get wafts of chicken as I'm driving down too many streets. And I don't get me wrong, because if Royal Farms, you guys, and Wawa, you're out there and you want some, you want to sponsor some portions of this show, we can talk. We can come to the table and talk. But I gotta do my homework and look at the planning boards and the things that come up. I do get emails, and I do notice when commercial proposals come up and it's a Wawa or something like that. I got to get more in contact with our planning board and our planning commission to know why they seem not there at National Harbor. They're all up and down 202. They're coming up in District Heights. I mean, and throughout the area, they're in downtown DC. They are everywhere to a point where I just, I don't know if this is the best idea for us. And I know you guys, you don't want to tread too deep into the water because, I know you're professionals, but I am not. So are you seeing a lot of Wawas and Royal Farms, or is it just me? Because they just seem to be popping up everywhere. There's another one coming up on 202, and I think that's a Royal Farms. We already have a Royal Farms on White House and a Wawa over. They're just seriously popping up.
I'll say this. I think when you and I met by phone, if I'm forgetting quickly, we mentioned that. And when I saw the one coming off of Landover Road where the town center in Woodmore Town Center, oh my gosh, like not another Royal Farms. And it's like, I don't know. I think it's one of those things where you got to look at the Prince George's County Economic Development Committee. I know I used to know a guy. I don't know if he still works for the committee. We used to go to the gym together, and we used to talk about this because I was pushing him to get a cheesecake factory over here in Prince George's County. Like, can we please get a cheesecake factory? And just listening to him, I think sometimes for our county, while we have the income, we're the most affluent, predominant African-American county in the nation. I still think, it is still challenging for us to get those upscale and big businesses to come in here and to buy in to what this county has to offer. So I think, from a lot of what he was saying is that, they're working overtime, and it almost seems like when they're, got something good on the ropes, and then all of a sudden, then it's not. So I think sometimes, not that, they're settling, but it seems like then that's what you're settling. And I, per se, I'm in agreement with you. I don't want that to become the landscape. They do have cheap gas. So I'm appreciative. I'm with you. I don't want that to be the landscape of our community because, again, there's so much wealth, not just money, but it's just history and our county to have the same value and appeal as any of our other neighboring counties.
Now, Christina, you guys in Riverdale and the College Park area, you have a lot of dense development. And one of our viewers mentioned that also. She made mention of having to have dense populations. And you do, I've heard that all these years I've been here. Dense population brings higher end amenities. So I don't see a lot of Royal Farms and Wawas in Riverdale. I don't know that there's one there.
There's
do
one
you think
in Beltsville.
Your dense populations have contributed to that?
I'm sorry, the question, do you feel the dense population contributed to the Wawas coming? There's one in Beltsville. That's the one that I know of. And then on Annapolis Road.
To them not being there, to them not.
It could be. I'm
asking, do you think? Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, it's hard for me to say kind of what's driving that. I do feel like it's something, when I would take a road trip down south, it seems like I would see Wawas and, it is something to see them like right in my backyard. But it's hard to say what's driving those popping up and, where we haven't seen it before.
Hey, Cheryl.
Yes.
I just wanted to jump in. I didn't know if you had to take a break, but I was going to say, I love this question because it's really complex. I'm not a real estate professional, so I don't want to speak like I'm a real estate professional. I will tell you my perspective on why we've got, the Wawas and the Royal Farms chickens and all that other stuff. I think a lot of it just has to do with the lack of commercial density. We talked about that earlier. I mean, people, restaurants, businesses want to come to places where there's going to be people working in buildings that can eat lunch there and that can patronage. The reason that Woodmore Town Center is so vibrant is because they got a bunch of government buildings right across the street on 202. So I think the lack of commercial density in general in Prince George's County, you don't have world headquarters here. You don't have those kind of things. I think that some of those restaurants look at these places and say, well, you don't have the density, so we're not coming. Now, there's a lot of reasons that we don't have density. I mean, there's been a lot of structural discrimination. I mean, retail redlining is real. White flight is real. Bank predatory lending is real.
Yes.
All of these things have given us disproportionate communities and disproportionate density. And we have to accept the fact that, and Tim hit on this, for some of these organizations, we're the most affluent, yada, yada, yada. That's a great moniker, but that doesn't mean anything to some of these organizations. And some of them, we have to be honest, I don't think they really consider us their customer. So we're not coming there. Now, if you want to cross a bridge and come over and come to our place, well, great. And here's the other thing. Prince Georgians have to take some ownership to that. We go across bridges. We go seeking Trader Joe's. We go across other places. And if we keep going and they keep showing to us we're not coming, why would they ever change? And so I think part of that is I think it's all wrapped up in that. And then the last part of that is I think our government, local and federal, could do a better job of spacing out government buildings. I mean, there's no reason that a government building couldn't be on 210. I mean, that's 5,000 people. You know, and it doesn't have to be the FBI building. It could be the Department of the Interior or whatever building. And when you have all those people need places to eat. And so I think that's one of, you know, right now, all of our government buildings in Prince George's County are in the town of Upper Marlboro or 202 for the most part. And I think until we change that perspective with those other two things, some of the structural discrimination, and we as residents, I mean, we haven't been willing to stay in Prince George's County to you know, and say, you know, we're not going to those other places. I know that's hard, but you know, I think those things all come together.
It's okay. No, this is good. This is good conversation, and these are things that we have to keep at the forefront if we're talking about the larger landscape that is our real estate and our development. And talking about that, like, I wanted to get to one of my subtopics, and I hope you guys can lend a hand. We're talking a lot about you know, the diversity of homes and the price points and things like that. Are there any first-time home buyer programs or home buyer programs for Maryland, for Prince George's County, that you would recommend for a person who's trying to dip their feet in? I know when I sold my house in Washington, D.C., there was is it called CASA, a program? I sold my home in Washington, D.C. to someone who was in a home buying program, and it helped them secure funding. And it was a very smooth process. So what would you suggest for someone specifically interested in buying in Prince George's County first? And I know you don't want to single any places out. I know Christina's going to go with the Route 1 corridor. I already know. But what places would you recommend for them to consider buying? And if there are programs for first-time home buyers, or maybe I don't know that there are programs. I think Wells Fargo had some sort of program where they were helping people adjust their mortgages or things like that. But could you talk a little bit to that?
Sure. And I'll start by saying, of course, I love my Riverdale, but I can't, you know, steer anyone any one way. But I would love for you to come to my neighborhood. But yeah, it really starts with first sitting down and kind of having a buyer strategy session, figuring out their goals, their reason for wanting to buy, their wants and their needs, and kind of mapping that out. And of course, their budget. And then from there, we kind of figure out, you know, what would make sense based on where you work or, you know, your other needs at that time. But there are, you know, there are mortgage assistance programs in PG County. There's a pathway to purchase. There's also a partnership with the University of Maryland, and if you are a employee in College Park and or you work at the University of Maryland, there's a program where you can get a forgivable loan. And there's also a mortgage purchase assistance program with PG County.
Wow.
But all of so all of it starts with kind of first going through your strategy session, figuring out what works for you, what doesn't, and why, then connecting with lenders who, you know, push this out to their networks as well. But PG County does have the College Park University Partnership Program. I think it's $15,000. Obviously, these programs have rules with first-time home buyer. You have to live in the home for a certain number of years. And if you do sell prior to that time, you have to pay the money, which is fair. But it's a big chunk of money that can go down to down payment and or closing cost assistance. So the programs are there. The counseling programs are there as well. So it's just a lot of different moving parts, but you know, we can work through it and distill it.
Excellent. Excellent.
I can just add in reference to what, you know, Christina said. I think the biggest thing is that sometimes first-time buyers don't understand that you do have to qualify for these programs. So as she said, it's really kind of assessing your situation because there are credit score requirements. And, I work with, a lot of buyers as well. Sometimes the buyers do not qualify for the programs and sometimes they do. And also the programs also come with a higher interest rate. So it's a lot of, as Christina said, there's a lot of moving parts to make sure that it is what the buyer wants. Because when we had the lower interest rates last year, I had one buyer in particular who chose not to do the first-time homebuyer programs because he wanted the lower interest rate. But they're there. It's once they get the information, then it's solely up to that buyer to determine what is going to be best for them if they do qualify.
Okay, and I would also suggest that you just do a search on Prince George's County first-time home buyer program or Prince George's County FHA, things like that can at least help you get your foot in the door when it comes to home ownership. And I'm a big proponent for home ownership because I've seen the astronomical prices for rent in this area. And I just think that you're getting more back on your investment if you purchase a home. There are new home developments closer into the city, and there are ones all out in the suburbs. And guys, everyone who's listening, just do the quick search. I'll have some things listed in the next PGC blog post about first-time homebuyer programs and programs that help you reassess and sometimes renegotiate your mortgage for better rates. Another topic that I have here is, and it goes back to the condos. Why are there no high-end condos in Prince George's County? There is a school in Upper Marlboro, full disclosure, my elementary school in DC on Capitol Hill has been converted to really, really high-end condominiums and townhomes. And there are some historic buildings here, like the old Upper Marlboro High School, which is in the town of Upper Marlboro. And it's just sitting there dormant. It's just sitting there vacant. And I plan on reaching out to the new commissioners and the new mayor just about what they plan on doing with that type of space. We have an abundance of space. You think about the now closed Prince George's Hospital that is not far from Cheverly. It's great space back there. I mean, there's parking, there's overlook, there's an ease of travel for the Route 50. You're near a metro station. We have a lot of opportunities. Do you see condos as something that's going to answer a housing problem, like the need for dense populations to bring more amenities and the need to house some of the those of us who are gracefully getting older and may not want the hassle of taking care of a full house anymore? Where do you see condos in the big picture of Prince George's County real estate? And I mean the fancy schmancy ones too, not just, a duplex or something like that. The fancy schmancy, give me like 21 floors with a penthouse.
So I'm not a real estate expert, so I don't want to speak like I am, but I will tell you, I think one of the most interesting things that is being discussed is the Petra development that's right up near National Harbor, where they're looking to have that aging in place population with mixed use development. And so they're looking to do a little bit of all the things that we've talked about, where you can have some affordable housing, but you also can have the kind of commercial density that will then attract other things. I think it's a great model when they talked about it. So I'll be interested to see how that unfolds. And it could be a model for other places around the county.
well, I'll add.
Sure.
I think it was tried a long time ago. Like, for example, in the Largo Town Center, I think if I get the building's name wrong, then forgive me. It's called the Mosaic, and it was a really nice. Now it's not as tall as you're suggesting, but it was a beautiful condo building, and ultimately, I guess they couldn't get any more sold, and so a large portion of that building is their rentals. And then there's a building over there in Suitland, right across Tribeca from the metro, from the Branch Avenue Metro Station. Same thing happened to it. So I think they were going in that direction, and now I see more luxury high rises that are going on the really nice 55 and over complex that's right off of Harry S. Truman. Now that's really luxurious and really, really nice. Over in, oh my gosh, off Oxon Hill Road, they took, now this is a high rise. They took a large office building and turned it into a luxury apartment complex. But in my opinion, I still think it goes back to price point, because I think, what are they going to price these at to where it will be affordable housing for the county, and where you know that builder is going to be happy and get the prices that they want at the end of the day. And then I think it's a lot of what we've already said, you know, about amenities. Because like for the harbor, you got all of that down there. You got Pulte Homes that's building in front of them, called Haven. But it's when you look at that density, now you got a lot of things going on down there, and so that builder can justify coming in and, you know, making the investment of doing that. So I think it's a combination of things. But I still think it goes back to pricing. Like what are they going to be priced at, so that it's going to be affordable, and so that it doesn't happen like these other really nice condo buildings where they start out selling and then they don't sell and then they become rentals. And if I'm buying this really nice luxury condo, unless people are renting them out as owners, then I don't want half of my building to turn into luxury rentals.
Right. Guys, we had another question and it was so good. Erin, could you bring that question back up? I want to get to that. We can't get to it right now because I have one last hot button question, but I'm going to make sure that we save your question because we're going to do another show. So that's a really good question. She wants to know, we think about all the master plan communities like Parkside, Westphalia, and South Lake, and they're popping up everywhere. Some of them are really fantastic. Some of them really look like a bunch of Lego blocks, but it's another show. Our last hot topic, our hot button question. I don't know, copyright infringement. What do we do? Because I feel like the Commanders are on their way out of Prince George's County. Winning, losing, it does not matter. I just think it was a bad fit for this county. And with all that acreage, all that space that's over there, what if you could, as a developer, you know, put on your developer cape and tell me what you would develop over there on that stadium site? Hundreds of acres. Or what you think should it be parks? Should it be homes? What type of development do you envision? And you have very little time.
Okay, I will be super quick. Of course, I feel like a whole nother show can be done on development and commercial. But I feel like going back to the earlier comments about that healthy mix of mixed use to drive the commercial presence. You know, obviously, usability studies and feasibility for the area, you know, have an understanding of the pain points of the people that live there right now. So obviously, it's a tough question, multi-dimensional question. There's just so many ways it can go. But I feel like finding that mix is what it is, a mixture of the housing stock, green space, catering to the aging population, catering to the booming, the largest population of millennial buyers that are coming to the market. There's so many facets here. So just throwing out my 2 cents.
I would agree with that too. I think what Christina said, and I'll be quick with this as well. I think whatever gets done over there, I think the way it gets branded is important. That area is going through rapid change. It's awesome. It's beautiful. And I think that for too long, Prince Georgians have allowed that area to be thought of as, well, it's Landover. I mean, we should be proud of that area. That area is Springdale. That's what that area is. And when we talk about it, we should be talking about it and driving that narrative that this is an area with $800,000 homes and this is where you want to be, and not allow mass media to sort of weave this narrative of it's, and this nothing against Landover, Glen Arden or nothing, but we need to drive it the way we want to drive it, and and be damned that you should want to come and be here in a really cool place.
Right. I agree with that. Just quickly, I agree with David how it gets it branded, because Landover has always been a great area from a real estate friend of mine who is an investor and has several investment properties over there. It's always had the potential, and her properties have accrued, like tripled in value. So I agree with David, is how it gets branded and making sure that the narrative is one that is going to help people to buy into that area. But but anything they do over there, not anything, but it has a lot of potential.
And I just want to be clear too, Cheryl, that I wasn't saying anything negative about Landover either. So if it came off that way, that was me. Having been in the news business, though, on the other side of the camera, I know sometimes how that moniker can kind of come up. I'm just saying, we drive that narrative of what that area really is.
Right.
I'm going to bring this to a close. You have been wonderful. Like, quiet round of applause so that I don't get a whole lot of feedback or anything. But this is just the beginning. We're going to have another show, or maybe another couple of shows next month, depending on how people responded to this one. I think this was a great time. There's so much more to talk about: bed and breakfasts, Airbnb, commercial development, and the questions that came up while we were chatting. We have to address those questions. We have 2 minutes left, and I wanted you to just close out, each one of you, just by giving your name again and how people can reach you or see your social media online. Christina?
Okay, thank you again, Cheryl. This was a lot of fun. You could find me at gobrentrealty.com and then /Christina. Feel free to reach out to me over there. I'm also on Instagram, Christina Cashy _realtor. I'm happy to answer your questions. Happy to be of service.
Again, thank you, Cheryl. You can reach me at www.realtortimothyjohnson.com, and the same is for my email, realtortimothyjohnson@gmail.com. I'm always happy to be of service.
Thank you. David?
We're the easy one. Our website, fwforward.org, fwforward.org. Facebook is fwforwardmd, and same on Instagram, fwforwardmd. So right at the bottom there, that's where you can see those there. So we're doing big things. Come join us.
Well, thank you to each of my guests. Thank you for every person who tuned in. This is Cheryl at PGC Blog, and we're signing out, and we'll see you at the next show. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.